Hi guys. So I just got back from the GR11. I managed to walk the whole thing. It was extremely difficult. It took me 2 months to do it, but somehow I managed to do it with an ultra heavy pack. And in this video, I just want to show you what I have with me. So all of the equipment that I ended up with on the GR11. The first thing first, this hat. This sombrero. This was an extremely important piece of equipment. I think I would have had a heat stroke if it wasn't for this hat. There were days when it was like 35 degrees Celsius. It was scorching hot. There were places with no shade at all. I really highly recommend getting a sun hat. Okay, then in order to walk, you need some shoes, some boots. I recommend getting a light pair of hiking boots, ones that are waterproof. You don't need any like big heavy leather boots or anything like that for the GR11, but I personally wouldn't go in running shoes. I've seen other people do it in running shoes. I don't know. I've walked through a bunch of mud on this trail. There were sections where you just could not avoid mud, and when there's mud, it's never just like dirt. It's always mixed with cow shit or horse shit or sheep shit. It's always mixed with a ton of crap. So I wouldn't want that seeping through my shoes and getting all inside and between my toes. So I think hiking boots I'd recommend. Also, because in some sections of the GR11 it can be quite bouldery, quite rocky. So something that's a little bit sturdier than running shoes I think is good. These particular shoes I wouldn't really recommend. They were €50 decathlon boots. My feet were in excruciating pain for like 3 weeks. I got blisters all over my every toe, every piece of my foot. They hurt a lot. They also ripped a bit here and here. They ripped before I even started the hike, even though I only wore them for 2 months. But I super glued them. Actually, the €1 super glue from the Chinese shop held up for the entire 2 months. So that's positive. I mean, they didn't completely fall apart, but yeah. We got some little bit of a. So, that's boots. Trekking poles! I wouldn't do this hike without trekking poles. They were quite helpful. I mean, you're walking for 840 kilometers. You want something to help you push you along. In some places, it was you need some help with balancing or just getting up that mountain. I wouldn't go without trekking poles. These were like €5 each, so I don't see why you need to buy an expensive pair of trekking poles, but I would definitely recommend getting some trekking poles. A sleeping mat. It's very important. You can't go camping without a sleeping mat. This one was perfectly fine. I was quite happy with it. Guys don't like it. Some people like to go for the blow-up ones. Those take up a lot less space. The only problem there is if it pops, then you're kind of screwed on a cold night. These ones will never pop, so I quite like that. On the other hand, the blow-up ones are probably more comfortable. So, what else we got on the outside of my bag? So, I took a pair of sandals. This was really nice to have because when you camp, you don't want to continue to wear your disgusting, smelly boots all the time. So I would often end up wearing these around my camp, wherever I camped. I would recommend getting a lighter pair. These ones are a bit heavy. These particular ones I wanted to have as kind of a backup in case my boots failed. Luckily that didn't happen. Some people just go with like flip-flops, thongs, whatever you want to call them. Those would probably be fine, but they wouldn't serve as backup if your shoes failed. So yeah, I think a light pair, something like this, would be best. The tent. So This I borrowed from a friend, so thank you very much, Dima. It was a nice tent actually. It was very comfortable to sleep in. It held up in the rain. It held up in there was some hail, some really strong winds. It was comfortable. It was easy to set up. It was way too heavy for one person. It's a two-person tent. So if you get a tent, get as light a tent as possible. Something that's sturdy, of course, but something that's light. Because my entire setup was extremely heavy, and that made it so difficult to walk across the Pyrenees. But yeah, overall, I don't even know what kind of tent this is. I wouldn't recommend it though, so that doesn't really matter. Just get a light, small tent. That's what's important. Here on the outside, this water bottle holds about 600 ml. This is really comfortable to have. I would be walking, and then I'll get thirsty and I'll just go quickly and then drink. And then I could easily pop that back. So I didn't have to you definitely don't want to stop every time you want to get a drink of water. So this was a nice convenient system to have. Apart from my little water bottle, I always carried two 1.5 liter bottles. This was important because sometimes I would trek for a long time without running into a water source. Other times I camped away from a water source and I wanted to have enough water to cook, to drink, to get to the next water source, to wash my pot, to wash myself, all of that. Usually I used one water bottle to wash my body like that, and then another water bottle to drink from or cook with, things like that. Sometimes I camped where there was just a fountain or a very shallow stream, so I would fill up the water bottle and then have a shower like that. I definitely recommend having the capacity to carry at least 3.5 liters of water on this trail. And you can buy these bottles along the way. It's not I switch bottles every once in a while. When the bottle looked too old or had a hole in it, I would buy a new bottle. What else do we have here? Here we have my pointless knife. It may be pointless, but I gave it a very important purpose. I use this knife to dig holes for my poop. So, you go out camping in the wilderness for 2 months, you will have to poop in the forest or in a mountain or behind a rock. It's not a very comfortable thing to do, but you kind of have to. And you should be a responsible hiker and dig holes for your poop and then bury that shit. So I didn't bring, they have little lightweight shovels that you can bring, but I decided to just bring my pointless knife, and it worked surprisingly well to dig holes. That was pretty much its only purpose though, so next time I'd probably just bring a little shovel that might work a little bit better. I always like to have that handy on the outside, so when you gotta go, you know where this stuff that you need is. Alright, so let's talk about the bag itself. So this is an Osprey backpack. It is the, Ariel 65AG. I've walked thousands of kilometers with this bag. I've carried half of my body weight in this bag. Never had any back pain. It was always very comfortable. In general, this particular bag is very comfortable for me, but when you choose a bag, you should always test it out yourself. You should always try it on, put some weight in it, see how comfortable it is for you, because everyone's body is a little bit different. Some features I like about this bag is this here. First of all, it fits very comfortably. This has pockets. I really like the pockets. Here we have a zipper that goes all the way down here, which is quite convenient. I've had a bag before that opens only at the top and the bottom. and that's really uncomfortable. So I like that it zips down the side. This is some extra space, pretty much every bag has. And then this, I really like this feature that you can take off this top part, and not only can you just take it like this and carry it with you, but you can transform it into a little backpack. So all you have to do is this. It's super easy and it becomes a really nice backpack. You don't even have to move your stuff around because whatever you had on the top of the bag, you'll have inside the backpack. And this was really convenient. I mean, I use it daily in like my normal life. But when I was hiking the GR11, it was really convenient because sometimes I wanted to climb to a peak of a mountain that wasn't directly on the trail, and I would have to basically go up to the peak and then come back down the same way. So instead of bringing my entire backpack, what I would do is detach this top part, turn it into a little backpack, and then take my valuables as well as a little bit of water and a snack, and then I would just hide this big backpack somewhere, and then I'll go climb the peak of a mountain with just this small, comfortable backpack, and I wouldn't have to drag everything with me. So that was really, really convenient. Okay, so now we can get into what's on the inside of the backpack. So one thing to note is when you pack your bag, you want to be careful with your weight distribution because it does make quite a difference in comfort to have a good weight distribution. You want your heaviest gear to be kind of here, and you want the lightest gear on the top. If you're top heavy, it will make the bag really uncomfortable. So I tried to do that. Sometimes it was difficult to do because I had certain things that I wanted to have handy, and I would have them at the top or something that's a bit fragile. But in general, you want to keep that in mind. So heaviest gear down here, that's where I have my cooker and my rice and other heavy things. And then lighter, and here you want kind of the lightest stuff. But yeah, at the same time though, you want things that are that you need straight away, you want them at the top. So things that I want at the ready. This is my rain cover. So in case it starts raining, sometimes it can start raining out of nowhere, and you just want to make sure you have that handy. So I'll have that straight away. Rain cover. Sunscreen, very, very important on the GR11. You want to have that handy all the time. This is another rain cover. You don't need two rain covers, just one, okay? Here I had a little poncho. I considered bringing like a proper hiking poncho at first, but it turns out that I didn't need that. I had a good rain jacket and also a lightweight poncho that it didn't really need. I always had everything, especially all of my electronics, in these Ziploc bags or plastic bags in general. They were quite handy. With this thing, I kind of had to break the weight distribution rule a bit. This is a bit heavier than I would have liked it to be, but it was very handy. This is my solar panel. It worked surprisingly really, really well. This was like 25 euros or so that I bought online before I left. And what I would do is, I would set it up in the morning as I was having breakfast or something, and I would face it into direct sun. And then if I needed extra charge, I would just hang it on the back of my backpack like this. And I would walk with it on my back. The good thing about walking east to west is that the sun was at my back in the morning, so that's good, first of all because you don't have the sun in your eyes, but also because it was able to charge my stuff. Usually I attach the solar panel to a power bank, so I have this little power bank over here. And then the wires didn't get in the way, so I would just walk like that. Then at night, I would charge my phone and my GoPro like Kindle, whatever else, with the power bank. After doing this trek, I would say that it's a bit of an overkill to take both a solar panel and a power bank. I would probably go with just the solar panel because that solar panel worked surprisingly well, and the power bank is just extra weight that I didn't really need. So yeah, I would go without the power bank. And also my phone has a charger case. So basically, if I do this trek again, I would take just the solar panel and the charger case for my phone, but not a separate power bank. It's a bit overkill. So the phone I always had there because I used it for navigation. In these pockets I had a GoPro, my wallet, which is not really a wallet, it's just a little bag. Let's see about the other things that are quick to access. So, water filter. This was really great. This is the Cicerone V3 water filter. I really liked this filter. It was super easy to use. I had no problems with it. Basically, you just fill up water like this. You put it on, put this on, and you just squeeze water. Still has some water. And you squeeze water. You can even drink out of it. The flow rate is really fast, but usually I would squeeze it into my water bottle, and then I would drink it. If I didn't have this, I probably would have gotten sick. I mean, there were some times where I couldn't avoid drinking out of a river or a lake that looked a little bit dodgy, or there was a rain and there was cow poop around. Here I have a first aid kit. I'd recommend keeping that on top. What I ended up with was like a bunch of band-aids. My feet were butchered up. Here I have like ibuprofen in case you get a headache or something. Didn't use it much. Nail clippers, they're important. You want to clip your nails if you're out there for 2 months. This is the antibiotic cream, just in case, I don't know, you get a big cut or something. Tweezers, in case you get a tick, because you can get ticks on the GR11. I've heard of people getting ticks. It wouldn't be nice to get a tick and then not be able to take it out, or a splinter or something. A mirror, in case you get a tick in your ass. Or maybe something in your eye, you know. It could be useful to have just a small mirror. More ibuprofen. This is like some kind of Romanian cream for like muscle pain. It actually came in handy. I used it on my feet. It was very good. And earplugs, quite important. Sometimes you can sleep in a bothy or something and people snore. Hikers snore really loud, turns out. So, here's my toilet paper. I always had that, you know, handy with the hand sanitizer. The little light. This is really good to have. You definitely want a headlamp, not just like a flashlight, because at night you might need to do stuff with both hands. You might need to set up your tent at night, and it's really good, or cook food. You know, and it's really convenient to have the light on your head, and you don't need to use one hand for the light. So definitely recommend a headlamp. This one was really nice. It's small, and it doesn't need batteries. I can just charge it with a USB. So that was convenient. This army knife. It was handy. I cut all kinds of stuff with it, mostly food. Sunglasses. I didn't use these very much, honestly, but they could come in handy sometimes. There were a few places with like too much road walking or a lot of boulders, and they would like shine from the bottom of the trail and from all directions, and even the hat couldn't stop the light from like, so sometimes it's handy. Moisturizing cream. It's good to bring a lighter sometimes. Maybe your cooking pot doesn't, you know, light on its own. You might need a. Here I just have my chargers, basically, for my electronic. And this spoon. This is just a normal spoon, and I use these little baggies to like keep it clean. So let's see. How about the clothes? So first of all, the undergarments. I started off with like a bunch of pairs of underwear. I ended up throwing some away. I pretty much brought like old underwear that I didn't care about, but quick dry underwear, you know? So I liked having 4 pairs of underwear, honestly. I know many people would say that's overkill, but they don't weigh very much. They're very small, at least female underwear. So I think it's worth it to have 4 pairs so that you can always have clean underwear ready. Because you can't always wash your underwear anywhere you go. So, you know, if you have 4 pairs, you can usually have a clean one. I liked having 2 bras, 2 sports bras, because you'd walk in one and it will be disgusting. It will be covered in sweat, you know, and then you arrive somewhere and you go jump in a lake or a river and you're nice and clean. And maybe you still want to wear a bra, so you can wear the cleaner one. You know, now neither one of them look clean at all, they're not clean. But, you know, usually I keep one cleaner than the other. Yeah, then tank top. I really like this very quick dry material tank top. I pretty much hiked with this the whole time. You don't need to go with anything too fancy. This was like €5. I brought an extra tank top. It's not really totally necessary, but I really like to have it. It's quite light too. You know, again, for the same reason that I get to camp and I can put something clean onto my body after I take a rinse. I brought a separate shirt to sleep in that I kept clean the entire time. And I like that as well. I mean, you can probably combine this second tank top with whatever you sleep in if you want. I also brought an extra pair of shorts. So the shorts that I'm wearing here, which are boys swimmers, and another pair of boys swimmers. Same reason I like to have 2 pairs, so one stays clean, the other one gets disgusting and sweaty, and you know, until you wash it. Then warm pants. So I had one of these that I trekked in that were quite necessary. Some days it was really cold. There were a few nights where it was probably below freezing, and the only way I could keep myself warm was I kept these ones, which I normally slept in the mountains, and I also had to put on a second pair of pants, and I snug into my sleeping bag and I put on pretty much every layer, every piece of clothes that I had to keep myself warm. So this ended up being enough. I didn't need an extra warm pair of pants, which I initially thought I might need. So yeah, I'd recommend 2 pairs of leggings. One you can sleep in, the other one you walk in, and if it's a really cold night, you sleep in both of them. I had this layer, which is just like a light little thing that you put over your body. I really liked having this because some days it was just like, oh, it's a bit too cold, but it's a bit too hot to wear a fleece. And also sometimes I used it to protect myself from the sun. One thing I would have liked is if this was white, because this is a bit too dark to protect yourself from the sun, but it still worked a little bit. So yeah, I liked having this extra layer. This is a fleece from Arc'teryx. It's a really good fleece, really light, really warm. I love it. My socks. So this I'm going to throw away right now. Look at this. Look what happened. This is what happens when you buy equipment from Decathlon. These were my hiking socks. They're disgusting and full of holes. Yeah, so what I probably would have done is brought 4 pairs of hiking socks. One I would have kept clean to sleep in because some nights it was really cold. Um, yeah, and then 3 to change and hiking. Then I had this. This is a very warm jacket from Patagonia. This belonged to my father. He bought it for himself and never wore it, and then gave it to me eventually, which I'm really happy about because it's super, super warm. Some nights it was really, really cold. I would have frozen without this thing, so super happy to have it. So I would definitely recommend some kind of warm, fluffy jacket like this. Something that's light but warm. On top of that, you need a rain jacket. It will rain, it will thunderstorm. The rain can be really heavy sometimes. This is the Vortex jacket. Did the job. Very good. Like I said, it's cold sometimes. I use this to keep my head warm. So, something like this. I didn't feel like I needed a hot hat, so this one was good enough. That was too hot. This one, oh yeah. This was also nice to have. It's like it's kind of like the hat thing, but a little bit lighter. Protects you from the wind. This is my towel. I mentioned that I hate those stupid, fancy little microfiber towels. They're the biggest bullshit thing that you can sell to anybody. It's like, what's the point of a towel if it doesn't dry your body? So those microfiber little expensive cheap towels don't dry your body. They may dry themselves really well because they don't get wet. So anyway, I just took this cloth basically. It's like a sarong. It was very good. It dried my body very quickly. And then I would just bring it out and hang it up somewhere and it would dry itself very, very fast. So this towel was perfect. So just get a sarong or a half a sarong or a bandana or something. Not the stupid microfiber towels. This was stupid. I dragged a freaking bikini top all the way across the Pyrenees mountains just to like use it for a few days on both sides of the ocean and the Mediterranean. Anyway, don't bring this. It's not important. Here I have a little bit of soap and shampoo. I washed my hair, I think, 3 times in the entire 2 months that I was in the Pyrenees. Yeah, and I used the soap a few times, but yeah. Oh, and the shaver. I shave my armpits. That's good, I think. Here I have my book reader. It's very important to have. I was reading books. I was reading my own book. I was making edits and all kinds of things. I'm really happy I had this. I wouldn't give it up. It's got the toothbrush, toothpaste, and dental floss. I mentioned it was cold sometimes. Gloves were really good to have. Actually, really, really handy. At first I was like, do I really need to bring gloves? Which the first few days. And then once I got into the high mountains, they ended up being really important because you're holding trekking poles, it's really cold, it can be windy and rainy and hail and whatever weather, and it's nice to have gloves. I used them a few times. Very nice. This was the knee thing because, you know, if you go up and down and up and down and up and down like thousands of mountains, your knee might hurt eventually. And mine did a little bit, and I used this a bit, and it helped. So this is nothing fancy. I bought this at the Chinese store for €1.50, I think. So nothing. You don't need anything fancy. It did the job. Yeah, you don't need anything. So here we have my fire maple stove. So this stove is too big for one person. I would have brought something smaller if I had the option because it's a bit heavy, it's a bit big. But in the end, I kind of made good use of it because what I ended up doing was I cooked dinner and breakfast at the same time. So I would actually cook an entire pot of this, like 1 liter worth of food. And I would eat half of it for dinner, and then I'd wake up in the morning and eat the other half for breakfast. So, yeah. And this is the gas. You can buy this gas along the way. Here, I have peanut butter. So, I brought this little container just thinking I might use it to eat muesli or something like that. It ended up being really, really handy. I found that along the way, I realized that peanut butter was really important to have. And usually when you buy peanut butter, it comes in a glass jar in the Pyrenees. So I would transfer the peanut butter from the glass jar to this plastic container, and then I would just have it there. I also sometimes use it to put my leftover food, so I can make a big pot of food, then I can wash the pot, I can put the leftovers in here, eat breakfast quickly, and then hit the road. So here I just have spices and salt, pepper, and chili pepper, and some garlic. This I bought this like cheap version of Nutella when I was in Andorra, and then after I bought it, I realized that I couldn't do this hike without Nutella. So, but they sell Nutella in glass jars usually, so I ended up opening this plastic jar for the entire trip, and I would end up buying Nutella and then transferring it to this plastic jar because usually they don't sell it in plastic. Anyway, so there's my Nutella. Oh, the sleeping bag. And if you notice, I have everything in plastic bags, and I did that because I don't want my stuff to get wet. One time, a dog pissed on my bag, and I actually didn't have my sleeping bag in a plastic bag, and I was really concerned that the piss would go into my sleeping bag. Luckily, it didn't, but since then, I kept my sleeping bag in a plastic bag because that's this sleeping bag was the Mountain Warehouse Summit 250. I quite like this sleeping bag. It's bigger than you want it to be. It's a bit heavier than you want it to be for this trip. But it was warm and it was quite comfy. You want a sleeping bag that's as light as possible, but you want it to be comfortable at around 0 degrees. I have a pillow. It's a blow-up pillow that my friends gave me. It's nice to have. It's actually very, very handy to have. I brought a little sponge to clean my stove. This I brought needle and thread to fix stuff with. The only thing I fixed actually is this hat, which broke then afterwards again. But sometimes you may want to repair some clothes or something that breaks. So I like having needle and thread. It doesn't take up much weight. This was a stupid thing to bring. I mean, I would bring some duct tape, but not this much. Not like an entire roll of duct tape. I did end up using a little bits of it, but what I realized I should have done was just sliced off half of it before leaving because this thing is kind of heavy. Here are my documents, my passport, things like that. Super glue. Here I have an emergency blanket, which is probably a good thing to bring. I didn't have to use it, so that's a good thing. I brought my spare phone. I didn't need it. That's good. Brought it because I used my phone as navigation, and in case my new phone is really old and crappy phone that someone recently gave me. This one was even crappier, so I brought them both in case one failed. But lucky the first one didn't fail. I think I used this once, maybe, or twice. You don't need a comb. I don't know. I just thought, if I don't use it, I'll get dreadlocks, but whatever. I got a little bit of a dreadlock. But it's just, I managed to get it out. I think I would recommend cutting your hair short before the trip because the long hair is a pain in the ass to deal with. And, yeah, so pretty much that's it. That's everything that I brought on the GR11. So, the main thing to consider is that you're going to be walking 840 kilometers up and down, like, I don't know, hundreds of mountains, and it's a difficult hike. So the lighter, the better. If I could have gone lighter, that would have made it much easier. But of course, the lighter your equipment is, the more expensive it is. And I haven't had a job in like 5 years, and I don't want to get a job. So that's why I used old equipment that was very heavy, most of it. And I still made it across the Pyrenees, and I had a great time. So that's the important thing. And yeah,